Okay, we'll go ahead and get started just on a basis of time. Welcome to this week's installment of the Long Coffee Break. We're pleased to have Chris Cummings, Western Regional Sales Manager from AAON, with us today to present the Norm Asbjornson Innovation Center, really the AAON R&D Lab that opened up in 2019, and really an impressive facility. And really the name of the facility, Norm, is the founder of AAON and has been since 1988. And really the Innovation Center really speaks to really what I contribute as the key DNA makeup of the AAON brand. Really, innovation is what they have presented to the HVAC market for the past 30, 40 years with DOAS units, energy recovery, single zone VAV, evap condensing units, and really the list goes on in not only air handlers, but also chillers, water source heat pumps, and so forth. So a widespread of products and a great legacy of innovation that will obviously continue into the future with this new lab. So with that, I will go ahead and pass it over to Chris to present the facility and AAON overall. And then we'll, at the end of the call, we'll have time for questions if you have any. And then we'll also, if you have questions during the call, you can send those over in the chat box. So with that, Chris.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Can you hear me okay?
Thumbs up.
Okay, great. So yeah, as Paul had mentioned, I'm with AAON. I'm Western Regional Sales Manager. Been in our industry longer than I'd like to admit, but it's been a long time. Wanted to talk today about our facilities and also what Paul had mentioned, the NAIC, the Norm Asbjornson Innovation Center. And it looks like it's not switching for me, Paul.
Okay, I'll go ahead.
There we go. Okay. So I just wanted to start off with just a brief overview for those of you that might not have been back to visit us. Our headquarters is in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where we have over 1.7 million square foot of manufacturing on over 54 acres. Now, we still have a lot of land left there, and we do have a lot of future plans for expansion, and we have a lot of really cool stuff on the plans to come. So we got some really exciting future ahead of us here. But we have over 1,700 employees back there where we're building the rooftop package units that everybody has, come to know AAON for. It's really where we started. We're doing rooftop air handlers. We're also doing chillers, boilers, and pump packages back there, large condensing units, our big air handlers, and also some of the smaller tonnage water source heat pumps. And we have our new R&D lab back there as well. In addition, we have manufacturing capabilities in Longview, Texas, where currently we have about a little over 500,000 square foot on 25 acres and over 500 plus employees. We're making our loose coils that we ship up to Tulsa for installation in our rooftop package units, and some of the condensing units, smaller air handlers like our H3s, V3s, which I don't want to call them fan coils. They're more like mini custom air handlers, and some of our more residential type products we're building down there. This first picture shows the plant as it was before our expansion, and we have recently added a second building, which basically doubled our capacity down there. So we have been investing and expanding our manufacturing capabilities. And our third location is in Parkview, Missouri. This is what probably known before as Wattmaster Control, but AAON purchased Wattmaster Control, brought them into the AAON mix, and it's now AAON Controls. But we have over 150 employees there, and all of our new products for custom control applications and new product development for controls is being done out of our Parkview, Missouri plant. So we'll talk a little bit about our new R&D lab, which we call the NAIC, the Norm Asbjornson Innovation Center. This shows our west plant up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which, as we had mentioned, was about 1.7 million square foot. And just to give you a kind of idea of how big this lab is, it's huge, but it's located out behind our west plant. And it's about 63 feet high, 330 feet long, 230 feet wide. But we have multiple floors in there. And you can see the truck here with a unit on the back of it can back into the opening at the end of our building. We have cranes in there that will lift that unit off and then can set those into place for testing. But overall, we have about 162,000 square foot of laboratory, and we have invested, I think they started off around 30 million, but we're now about $50 million into this test lab. And what they're doing here, we're doing multiple things. One, we can do factory witness tests, but in addition, we are also doing all of our future R&D, like the units that we're testing and trying, new things with. We will put into this lab to guarantee performance values that we do publish in our catalogs. But one of the really cool things we have is a sound chamber there, and it's the largest of its kind in the world. But we can take our largest unit, put it inside up on the top on the second, or we call it the third floor, but up on the top of this area up here, this simulates all the outdoor conditions. So we have 3 chambers here. We have on top the outdoor chamber, where we can simulate conditions of the ambient temperatures. And then we have down below a discharge chamber here where the supplier would come into, and it goes in through here. And this is our return chamber. So it would come out of this opening in the back of the wall and back up into the building. So we have 3 totally separate chambers there where we can measure the sound and the performance of those units. And we can do up to 540 tons of chillers. We have capability of going up to basically around 300 tons of air handlers. We can do about 100,000 CFM of supply air through the air handler, but external to the unit, we can pump about 400 to 410,000 CFM through that outdoor air chamber to ensure that we can get the conditions that we want. But this whole sound chamber is actually constructed of 12-inch concrete walls, ceilings, and floors. And it is all independently isolated from the rest of the lab to ensure the tightest measurements for sound and vibration. So it's all independently isolated from the rest of the lab. But we are basically the only manufacturer in the world that can measure the supply side, the rate of the return side sound levels, and the radiated sound levels all under actual load conditions. So that is important, because if you do have a project where you need to maintain sound levels at the property boundaries, we can guarantee those sound levels at actual load conditions. And that's very important for a lot of applications. So just to show some numbers here on the different chambers that we have. So the one we were just talking about is our sound and psychrometric chamber. So in addition to doing, having the ability to measure performance, we can do the sound, we can do unit performance all under actual load conditions. But the really cool thing there with the sound is that we have a broadband and discrete frequency measurement range, which goes from essentially 50 hertz all the way up to 10,000 hertz, and we can break that down into 1/3 octaves. So, if we're running something, we can actually very precisely determine if there, is an issue at a certain level, and break each octave band down into 1/3 octaves. So we have very good control and measuring capabilities inside that space. It doesn't want to go to the next slide there. There we go. And then in addition to that chamber, we have 4 other that are psychrometric chambers. So they don't have the sound capabilities of the sound and psychrometric chamber, but these can measure performance. So if we just wanted to do a performance test on one of our units, we could put it into one of these different chambers that are all different sizes, ranging from 20 up to 100 tons. So depending on the size of the unit that you wanted to do, if we had a 5-ton heat pump that we wanted to check out, well, we put that into a 20-ton chamber. So we have these chambers are pretty much being used all the time. Right now, we keep them full with R&D, so we're doing some new development of new products. And in addition to that, we work in customer required performance or performance witness tests as well. So just know that we have the ability, in addition to that large psychrometric and sound chamber, we do have other chambers there as well. Okay, next slide. We also have what we call an environmental test chamber. This one's actually pretty neat too, because we can simulate different environmental conditions. We can do up to 8 inches of rain per hour, with snow up to 2 inches per hour. We can put wind blowing through there up to 50 miles per hour. And we can go with an outside temperature there from 0 up to 140 degrees. It's pretty high though. It has to be 35 foot high, because for simulating rain or snow, especially the rain, we wanted to make sure that the droplets, as they form, that they are taken over by gravity. And to do that, you have to have them produced higher up, 35 foot off the ground, to make sure that it's not being directly sprayed, but it's more simulates rain a lot better. So we had this running for one of our sales events, and I think it was like August, where it was like 98 degrees and very humid outside, and we were producing snow and having snowball fights inside this test chamber. So it's pretty cool. Okay. So this is one of the units in the actual sound and psychrometric chamber. This is a 180 ton ROZ unit. This one here was actually 78 foot long inside that unit. So what we're seeing here is the outdoor simulated chamber. You can see the concrete walls, and you'll see over here we have on a jib here, we have a microphone that rotates around circular, and same thing over here. So these will rotate around as we're running the test to get a very good spectrum of the sound, and gets us very accurate, detailed data. Next slide. And then this would be down below in the return room and the supply room. And it's kind of interesting, but you'll see these metal triangular shaped unit or pieces on the wall here. And this was all done by an acoustician that came in and determined where those had to be placed inside of this room to ensure that we would get the reverberation inside that room that we needed to get accurate, detailed information. Okay, next slide. And then in addition to that, when you come back, if you were to do a factory witness test, we have an area set up inside the test lab where we have a conference room set up, and you can monitor the testing. We could also set that up to do remote virtual viewing as well. So if the owner wanted to send someone back to witness test it, they could have their agent there at the factory to see the units, and they could view it remotely as well. And these tests, they're not something that happens very fast. A lot of times when you're changing between points, it takes some time for the units to kind of reset to that new set point. So there is some downtime there. So we have a nice conference room where you can do some work as well as just waiting around to get the information for the customer witness tests. Okay, next slide. And then we also have the ability to help you if you're going to put together a specification requiring performance testing. We can help develop that information for you. But all the testing is done to AHRI 340 conditions. And we do have the largest tonnages available out of any manufacturer, where we can do capacity and a sound simultaneously, all from full load and down at part load conditions as well. And in addition to those chambers, we can actually do some tests on the floor. If you just wanted to do a leak in a panel deflection test, we probably don't have to have that into the chamber. We can do that outside, some of the fan vibration, and also like controls integration. If you had a unique controller that you wanted to send back, but we wanted to do some sort of controls testing to verify sequence of operation, well, that necessarily doesn't need to go into one of the chambers. We can do that separate on the floor. So we have the ability to do that as well. And then you'll get a performance test result page that we would print out and give you all the information that we collected and all the data we collected during that testing. Okay, next slide. And then this is just some typical verbiage, which we can also provide for you should you want to include that into your specification, but talking about just some of the different types of tests that we have, but we have that available to us and for you. So, okay, next.
Oh, my
There you
bad.
go. So last thing I just wanted to, make sure that everybody's aware of, AAON as a manufacturer, we are manufactured, engineered, headquartered, and owned, wholly in the United States of America. So we do meet the Buy America Act, should you require that. AAON is also traded on NASDAQ and good stock to look at. AAON is open for business, and we're hosting customers coming back to all of our factories. We can do factory tours with you. We can do end of the line unit inspections, or if you want to do any of these factory performance witness tests, all that you have to do is contact your local rep, Long, and they can help you get set up. But we are open for business, and we would love to have you come back and visit us to see some of the new technologies that we're incorporating, and hope to see you guys all soon. Thank you for your time. And at this time, I think we'll open it up for any questions.
Any questions, you can unmute and ask. If not, we will go ahead and adjourn. Before that, though, I just do want to add that the PGA Championship next year is in Tulsa. So if we can,
Southern Hills,
perhaps schedule an event or schedule a trip in conjunction with that, I think that'd be a good time. And then next week on our coffee break, the topic is space and energy savings, and that will be with Chris Burke of Mars Air Doors, excuse me. So thank you very much, Chris, and I hope everyone has a great day and a very happy Memorial Day weekend. Thank you.
Thank you all.